Fundamentally, start, awake, and OnEnable all do the same thing, kinda. They all run once-ish due to a specific trigger. Now, we are looking at the Unity manual, and we are looking at the order of executions. This is the master list. Well, I've seen more complicated ones, but this is the list of how everything executes and in what order. It is extremely useful when you are debugging runtime bugs, such as when something's executing before you want it to execute. As always, liking, subscribing motivates me to make more of these faster. Let's talk about the odd one out. OnEnable happens when the script or game object is enabled, and every time it is enabled, it is technically, or it is the only one of these that could be enabled or triggered multiple times for the same object. You could delete and remake an object and re-trigger start and awake, but it wouldn't be the same object. OnEnable is very useful when utilized with buttons or things that will get turned on and off and need to fetch data when that happens. I'm a big fan of using them on UI things. It just makes the UI like fairly lightweight when it's off in the ether, and then you can load the things you want. But I haven't made any seriously heavy game. Generally speaking, OnEnable isn't as good as Start or Wake for initializing scripts. Like when you're starting the game, when you're loading a level, OnEnable should be handling the lower tier stuff. Let's look at an example of an OnEnable script from my game, Corralling Cats. Link in the doobly-doo. So right here in my help GUI controller, I have this function called private void OnEnable. That's just its standard diction. So when it is turned on, it goes, hey, is this stuff on? If not, this should be false. And then it determines the screen size. So this helps it scale to the device, whether that's an iPad or a phone. Some of your phones have crazy resolutions. And it just triggers that when it's needed. It doesn't need to run that at start or on awake. It just needs to fetch that when it's opened. Start and awake are very similar. Awake is called first, before start, and before OnEnabled. The order is onAwake, OnEnable, start. Awake is called after all game objects have been initiated, and it's even called if the game object is disabled. So this could be a way to go fetch a reference or do something to an object that is disabled. Most things, like start, do not work when the object is disabled. Since awake is guaranteed to run before start, and it's far enough down the chain where I haven't really ever had issues with on awake triggering before anybody else's start, I run my like master setup things in there. And then start gets everything else gets start. You wake up, you start this, you wake up, you start that. Just so I avoid, I've structured my code in such a way that anything that is needed in start is made in on awake. Let's take a look at some code. So this is setting the variables to help calculate how many buttons there should be on a page and stuff. Something that could be, is going to be static and very useful when we are making the UI in the lower script, part of the script. And then start over here, this goes, hey, we're setting a target frame rate, which I don't think works anymore. Probably should remove that. And then it's getting all of the information. It's loading prayer preferences. This is all the saved bits. And then it's starting important coroutines like switching to main menu and then, starting the music. It starts the game. And as always here, this is just information. You can do a lot of things with it. You can do whatever you want and whatever thing you think will work for your code. So if you just like to use onAwake, then do that. It's not that much different than start, and you'll build around its eccentricities. Good luck out there.